Your kids aren't addicted to screens. You are. This was the very uncomfortable realization that I had to come to. And in today's episode, I'm breaking it all down. So welcome back to Hi Fam. I'm Avital. I'm the mother of 5. I'm the founder of Hi Fam. I'm here on a mission to help you to build a strong family culture. Now, one of the biggest difficulties that we face in today's generations of parenting is screen addiction, setting limits around screens, smartphones, digital footprint, social media, all the questions around the algorithms and AI. And I'm going to be breaking that all down for you in this upcoming series. We're going to get into all things screens and how we, as modern day people who aren't technophobes, who need to use technology, who like to use technology, who want some entertainment sometimes, but who also want to raise well-rounded individuals who have social skills, who have delayed gratification, who know how to entertain themselves outside of the digital world, who have real relationships, who help out around the house, who are educated. All of these things without, completely shunning screen usage from our lives. If that sounds good to you, make sure that you've hit the subscribe button, make sure that you hit that notification bell, and give me a thumbs up on this video so I know this topic talks to you. Again, this is going to be the first of a series of videos all about our relationships with the screen in our family culture. But today, we're going to start with a little bit of self-awareness. I think that's always a really good place to start when we're talking about parenting. Before we can correct someone else, before we can demand something of someone else, we've often got to look ourselves in the mirror first. And I know this was absolutely true for me and still is. Here's the thing. Every time my kids whine for more screen time, leave the Netflix running one more episode, I see them glued to a device, I think to myself, wow, they're just addicted to the screen. And in that moment, like lightning strike me down. In that very moment, I noticed that I myself am picking up my phone for, the 73rd time that day. So the reason I'm starting here is not because I don't think we can have rules for our children and expectations for our children, and not because I think that adults and children are the same. You are going to be using your screen so much more than your kids. And this is something that we explain to children. I'll give you the script for that at the end of this video. But first, I want to talk about turning the spotlight inward, because the truth is that role modeling is one of the most powerful things that we have as parents. It is hard to demand a certain level of maybe consistency or of self-discipline from our children when we ourselves have not mastered it at all. It is almost impossible to demand that children build a rich life outside of a screen if we aren't showing them how to do that. It is true that children are hardwired evolutionarily to mimic what their parents do and to prepare themselves in childhood through play for their world of adulthood in their particular culture. Now, if in their particular culture, we adults are always like this, glued to a screen, then that's what they're going to prepare themselves for. They're getting the message that these are the skills that they need, the digital skills. And the truth is, they're not wrong. They do need those skills for the future. However, we as fully grown individuals with fully developed prefrontal cortex, with life experience and with access to good research and data, can understand that a childhood that is glued to the screen is not good. Our children need face-to-face contact. They need to learn body language. They need to learn to enjoy books and to be outside and to move their body and develop their fine and gross motor skills and all of the things that one cannot do on a screen. And so with that wisdom, with the age and the years that we have, we can ensure that our children don't have a childhood that is hooked on screens. Now, what I'm about to say is not to make you feel guilty or ashamed or blamed, okay? And I 100% mean all of this about myself and my husband as well. We're the first to admit that we have a bit of a phone addiction problem ourselves. But I do want to go through the ways that we are modeling things that are going to undermine everything else I'm going to teach in this series, because the truth is, if we don't get this down first, then the rest of the stuff isn't going to help at all. The first thing is that we model distraction. Like I said, oftentimes I notice that I am distractedly scrolling on my phone. Even though I don't have social media on my phone, there are so many things that I'm looking up all the time. It's recipes, it's timing for things, it's writing and communicating with people, it's all the messages from the school, it's my emails from work, it's setting timers, it's checking my schedule. These are the types of things that I'm constantly doing, from booking a doctor's appointment to RSVPing to a birthday party to reading the news that day. These are the things that catch my attention on my phone. Now, given that I can basically run my entire life on my screen, it makes sense and I can offer myself a lot of grace and understanding why I'm always picking up my phone. But the trouble with this is that it also distracts me from my interactions with my kids. Often they're talking to me and I'm looking at a device and I'm just saying, and being distracted and not answering them properly, not giving them the time of day, not modeling, putting the phone down and making eye contact and actually listening to what they're saying. Now, some of the time this is okay and forgivable, but if it becomes much of the time, then they start becoming accustomed to the idea that this is just what relationships actually look like in today's day and age. So that's the first kind of blame or accountability that I'll take. I take responsibility for modeling distraction. If I don't want my children to be distracted in real life conversations, then I'm going to need to start modeling not being distracted in that way as well. The second accountability I'll take is that I cave under whining. I think for many of us parents, we just want some peace and quiet. And it's so easy to just say, okay, fine, when they want to watch another episode or when they want to go for a movie, when they want to play a video game, or even when they want to, buy new devices. And the truth is that caving to that pressure is our responsibility. It's our screen addiction, not our children's. Many parents use this excuse of, but they really, really wanted it, but all their friends had it, but they're already older and everybody's pressuring them and bullying them. They'll feel left out if they don't. And what I'm just pointing out is that this is our addiction, not our children's. It's easy to blame a child and be like, oh, my child just really loves screens. My child is really addicted. My child just can't let it go. My child just really needs it. I've even heard parents say. But the truth is that you're the adult. You're the one, or I'm the one with the fully developed prefrontal cortex, with all of the life experience, with the wisdom, with the awareness of research, of data, of what we know, and with your gut intuition, which, let's face it, most of us feel that it's too much when it's too much, or that it's too young when it's too young. And so if we're ignoring and dampening those gut instincts, that awareness, that conviction even that we have deep inside us, because our child's whining at us, then that's an us problem, not a them problem. So we need to put all of the accountability, I think, squarely on our own shoulders. One of the things I had to realize was if I want to master this whole, monster of screen time, social media, digital age in my parenting, I'm going to need to take radical responsibility. And it's no use saying, oh, but this kid really, really just, is so persistent about it or really wants it, or tantrums when I take it away, or feels left out in school because they don't have one. I can't put that on my child. I need to take that on myself. If I'm caving to the whining, then I'm the one who's addicted to screens, not my child. Similar to that is the next point, which is that if I'm providing the services, if I'm the one subscribed to Netflix, if I'm the one subscribed to Amazon Prime or Disney or what have you, if I'm the one buying the iPad or paying for the payment plan, for the phone, for the earphones, for the AirPods, for whatever it is, if I'm supplying this, I need to understand that I was the one who made the adult decision to buy this stuff in the first place. It's not like you're walking down the street and people are just screening movies for your kids to watch. It's not like Peppa Pig is just playing randomly everywhere you go. Yeah, that sometimes happens too. Like you're waiting at the doctor's office or wherever you are, or people just show your kids videos. It's not always you. But for the most part, where our children are seeing screens, getting used to them, getting accustomed to them, getting addicted to them, is under our roof and under our control. It was our choice to buy those things. And it could just as easily be our choice to sell them or to unsubscribe or to make something unavailable. So if the things are out, right? If we let peer pressure bully us into tech decisions, if we just cave, then again, it's us who are addicted to our screens, not our kids. And it has to start with us. Everything I'm going to tell you in this entire series all about screens is completely moot, is completely null and void if we don't first take radical responsibility of sitting in a leadership position where we call the shots under our roof, in our home, and with our own money. Okay. And by the way, yes, that even includes with your kids' money, because kids who maybe babysit and earn money or have an allowance still are falling under their parents' rules, still need to have parental authority on what you're allowed to spend that money on. So even now, as I'm parenting teenagers, yeah, my teenager might want to buy a new phone, but if I think that's, not in line with our family values and with what I believe he should be spending his money on, that's going to fall under a parental rule and parental authority of what we're going to be allowing or not allowing. And so that was the next thing that I really need to learn beyond not modeling the distraction on my phone, beyond, just being pressured by my kids' whininess, etc., is actually taking accountability for what I spend my money on and what my home rules are. And that's a really, really important thing to take accountability for. The next point that I want to make here about how we're addicted to screens, not our kids, although of course they are too, is that we're addicted to the peace and quiet of a child zombified by a screen, right? A child who's just sitting there completely glass-eyed, staring at Netflix, and then the autoplay just continues and continues and continues, is a child who is not disturbing us. That's a child who's not asking for anything, who's not tantruming, who's not whining, who's not demanding snacks, who's not making a mess, who's not getting into the paints or spilling Lego all over the floor or doing anything inconvenient. A child who is in front of a screen is a child who is convenient, who is easy to manage, who has kind of been, switched onto the screen and switched off from all other activity, including the emotionally and physically draining activity that children often have. When they're getting into creative projects, when they're playing imaginatively, when they're playing with siblings or friends, they often need help. They need help reaching something. They need help solving a problem. They need help cleaning up a spillage. And so that's inconvenient. That has a demand on us. And the way that we're addicted to the screens is that we're addicted to the peace and quiet that it brings us. Now, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. We all need a break from time to time, and it's okay to use the screen as a digital babysitter when we're in survival mode, when the alternative is you yelling at your kids or something like that, and you just need the break for your own peace and quiet and sanity. Hey, we've all been there, and that makes total sense. But the point I'm trying to make here is that that's a bit addictive. Having quiet, well-behaved, cornered children who are not going to be budging, are not going to be moving, you almost have privacy from them because they're just so absorbed with what they're watching, is an addictive thing. And it's so easy to just let it run to the next one and the next one and the next one, or to say yes to another hour that you hadn't intended to say yes to because of its addictive quality. So whilst it might feel like it's your child who's addicted to the screen, the child who's saying, I want another one. Can we just have one more episode? Can we just see the next bit? It feels like it's a them addiction, but I'm just highlighting the way that it's also an us addiction. We're addicted to that peace and quiet. Fair enough. We'll get back to the show in just 1 minute. But before we do, let me ask you, when was the last time you got to get your work done, to get your housework done, to sip your coffee while it was hot, or even to shower alone when your little kids were home? Listen, if you have kids ages 0 to 9, I know just how challenging it can be to get through your to-do list every day or to get a moment of peace and quiet for yourself. That's because I have 5 kids myself. And through all the years of homeschooling them, of doing my housework, of building my business, of maintaining my sanity, I had to find a strategy that works to keep them entertained and happy in a guilt-free, screen-free way, and to allow me the time to actually run our household and life. So what was this big secret I discovered? Well, it's called independent play, and it's Mother Nature's gift to all children. That's right, all kids are designed to play independently. But the trouble is that in our modern day culture, both our parenting style and our household layout and even the types of toys we buy can sometimes be inadvertently sabotaging kids' natural instinct and urge and desire to play. And that's a shame not only for us because they nag and they're clingy and it's difficult, but also for them because independent play is the way that children learn. Children develop social and emotional skills, physical development, fine and gross motor skills, academic skills, basically everything they need to grow into well-rounded, well-adjusted adults through play. It's fun, it's easy, and it's free. But most of our kids aren't really doing it. They're nagging for a screen or they're vying for adult attention all the time. Why? Well, that's exactly what you'll discover inside my course, Reclaim Play. Reclaim Play breaks down step by step exactly the small, easy, manageable changes that you need to make inside your home and in the way that you actually approach your child in order to entice and seduce them back into their natural skills of developing through independent play. When children play independently for hours a day, yes, you heard that right, hours a day, it is such a pleasure and a joy to see them immersed in a state of flow and learning. They enjoy it and we feel guilt-free because they're not glued to a screen. It doesn't cost us money to schedule a babysitter or hire a nanny, and it allows us to get the breathing room we need to show up as the best parents we can be to them. So grab your copy of Reclaim Play, and within 3 weeks, your child could be playing for hours a day. Find the link in the show notes or somewhere around this video. And now let's get back to the show. And finally, here I'll say about myself, I think that I was addicted to being Mrs. Nice Guy, to being the good cop, to saying yes, to being easy and sweet and go with the flow and warm and lovable mommy that my kids are always happy with. I was addicted to that kind of low stakes leadership where you don't really have to draw a line, hold a boundary, follow through, be consistent, maybe have a rule that the kids don't particularly like. There's something addictive about just saying, sure, no problem. And it is beautiful. And I do want to be, a yes mom, a yes parent. I do want my kids to feel that I'm on their side and that I'm with them and that I'm fun and that I don't hold them back from things that are cool and things that they like, and that I don't put them in a, weird social position where they're the only ones who don't have a phone or the only ones who didn't watch, that show. So I think that's a little bit addictive for us parents, the feeling that we should just be, the easygoing, fun-loving, yes parents. And the opposite is also true, that it's really hard to take a stand, to follow through, to hold to your values, to be the weird ones, to be the odd ones out, or to be the bad guy in your children's eyes. I can't count the number of times that my kids have screamed at me, I hate you, you're the worst mommy ever, or that kind of thing, because I've said no to something that they want. That kind of emotional tantrum and turmoil, the blame that they throw at you, the names that they might say to you, the rudeness, the bad behaviors, the stomping and the angry faces, that's hard to handle. That's not pleasant, right? And as humans, I think, we seek pleasure and we avoid pain. It's painful to hear your child mad at you. It's painful to endure a tantrum and the screeching and the screaming and the pushback and the whining. And so there's something very addictive about just yes, just yes, just yes. And then we say kids are addicted to screens, but really it was us who was addicted to not holding a boundary. We were addicted to permissiveness, to just choosing peace over all other values, to just being like, sure, fine, just get out of my hair. So to summarize, I think we're addicted to our phones ourselves, right? So we're modeling being addicted to our devices, which again, fair enough. We're adults. We have a lot of ish to do on our phones. And it makes sense, but we are modeling that distraction and that addiction. So before we can even talk about our kids' addiction, that's something we need to take care of. We need to learn to put our phone on silent mode, on airplane mode, in the charging station, in the lockbox, away, or to just pick it up less. I removed social media apps from my phone a long time ago and it made a huge difference in my life. Unsubscribing, turning off notifications, making your phone a much less attractive device, a device that is much less of a dopamine hit every few seconds, that is a little bit boring. Like, what was I even going to look at on this phone, right? Like, what, I'm going to refresh my email again? It's getting boring. So that's the first thing that we have to take care of, is us modeling the distraction. The next addiction I mentioned here that we need to take care of is being addicted to just giving in to the whining, right? Letting peer pressure bully our decisions. And instead to start to remember that you're the one who sets the rules. You're the one who says yes or no. You're the one who can withstand children's emotional turmoil and pushback because you're the leader and you're the adult. It's remembering that it's your pocket, it's your budget, it's your household, it's your roof, and you get to decide what the rules are, and not getting addicted to just placating and soothing and saying yes to whatever it is that children say. We're addicted to just caving in to that whining and annoyance. And that's something that you've got to start bolstering yourself up against. Like, I can handle it if you have a tantrum. It's okay if you say, oh, I'm the only one who doesn't have it. I can handle it if you ask me again and again and again. The marketers actually call this pester power. They know that there is a certain power in children pestering their parents because in the end, their parents will cave in. It's annoying to hear that you want a new iPad 20 times in a row every single day. And eventually it's just like, fine, I'll get you the iPad. But that's an addiction we have to break. We have to break the addiction to caving in and to the pester power and to just withstanding all of those social pressures and peer pressures, especially from the bottom up. The next addiction is the addiction to that peace and quiet. Kids aren't bothering us. They're just zombified in front of a screen. Awesome. That is something that we have to move on from and realize that no, children do make some noise. Children do make some mess and some chaos. There is stuff going on. They do ask you questions. They do want to chat, and we're not always going to be able to have just, silent, robotic, still children. If we want to raise children who are well-rounded and who are not addicted to a screen, we're going to have to break that addiction of wanting them to just sit still and be quiet. And finally, our addiction to permissiveness, to being the good guy, to being perceived as just going along to get along, to being easygoing, and in many ways, to being a weak parent, to being a parent who doesn't reclaim their leadership, who doesn't stand up for what they believe in, who doesn't actually have rules, expectations, and values that they enforce with their children. It's a little bit of an addiction because it's easy, it's soft, it's relaxed. It's perceived in our culture as maybe gentle parenting, as being very pro-child, as respecting children, as seeing children as our little gurus, as thinking that they are basically wise and they know what's good for themselves and they'll self-regulate by themselves when they're ready, if they're ready. And this sense that we don't need to take authority or control or leadership as parents because that would be tyrannical or almost even abusive, right? We're addicted to being in that soft spot, which is actually a really weak spot. The truth is that kids and adults are not the same, that kids have to go through a massive and long arc of development from the time that they're born to the time that they are fully developed, maybe at the age of 18, maybe at the age of 25. Different areas of their bodies and brains develop at different paces, and our culture has extended childhood even longer than it used to be. So now it's really a very gradual, slow burn of learning self-reliance, delayed gratification, patience, values, morality and ethics, all these different things that children have to learn over the span of their childhood. And it's tempting to just give that time, their childhood, over to the digital babysitter, over to Netflix and chill, over to just being one of the group and one of the clan, being the same as everybody else. It is so tempting, I totally get it, to just parent like everybody else is, or to give into the whining, or to just buy yourself some peace and quiet every day with a free digital babysitter. It is so tempting to just be that easygoing parent. But the trouble is that it does become weak parenting. And it does mean that we're giving our children over to the algorithm. The algorithm is going to raise them. The addiction is going to raise them. The rabbit holes, the radicalization, the bad ideas, the cyberbullying, all of those exposures really are there. They really do exist. And some of that screen time isn't just bad in and of itself, but it also takes away from many other extremely important things in their childhood, like time outdoors, time spent with friends, time spent on their education, or even just their sleep. We're going to get into all of that. But in this video, I just wanted to establish that you cannot expect your child to have self-control if you don't have it. I can't expect my child not to be addicted to a screen if I'm addicted to everything that comes with them being on the screen, and if I'm addicted to my screen myself. Now, I mentioned that I'm going to share a script with you of how to explain to your child that there is a difference between you being on your phone and them being on the iPad nonstop. Because I've noticed with my own children that sometimes they'll call me on my hypocrisy. Like, hey, you said it's not a screen day, or you said we can't bring a phone to the table, but you're doing it. Now, first of all, sometimes they're right. Sometimes I'm doing something that could wait, that shouldn't be part of our family life, like our family dinners. Sometimes I am just scrolling mindlessly on my phone and I do need to stop. And in those moments, I need to turn to them and say, thank you. You're right. I am putting my phone down. Thanks for reminding me. But there are other times when I'm doing something that is time critical, that is sensitive, that is of the adult world. Maybe I'm ordering food from the supermarket, or dealing with something in the bank, or answering an important message from a coworker. These are the types of things that I actually do need to do. And I think it's totally fair to say to your child, I know, honey, I know it feels unfair that I'm on my phone and you are not getting screen time now, but I need you to understand that the things I'm doing on my phone are things that are necessary for our family. This is work. This is medical appointments. This is time management, whatever it is that you happen to be doing. You can transparently share with your child that that's what you're doing, because otherwise it looks like you are playing video games. You are watching Disney Plus when they are not getting to do so. It's important to explain to a child that there are differences between adults and children. In a culture that wants to flatten everyone to just be same, they do need to understand that there are things that are appropriate at each age and stage. And as a parent, as an adult, as someone who's running a family life and perhaps a business or a job, you're going to need to be on your phone a lot more than they will be allowed to have their screen time. That doesn't make you a hypocrite. That just makes you different. You have a lot more responsibility from them. Here's the thing I explain to my kids. I tell them that the more privileges you get, the more responsibilities you have. So yes, it's true. I have a lot of adult privileges. For example, I have unlimited time on my screen. No one is checking me. It doesn't switch off. I don't have certain days when I'm allowed to watch things. Those are privileges that I have. But I also have massive responsibilities. I'm in charge of our household. I'm in charge of providing, of caring, of nurturing, of keeping everyone safe, of educating everyone. Those are the types of things that demand certain, activities on my screen. And therefore, it makes sense that I've unlocked those privileges. So my child, when you are in a position to pay for your phone plan, to hold down a job, to care for a family, you too will have unlimited access to your screen. And you too won't be questioned by others on what it is that you're doing on a screen. But for now, the screen is primarily entertainment, maybe with a small touch of education from time to time. And with time, it will become more about communication and maybe even your social life. But as long as it's just in the realm of entertainment, you don't need it in the same way that I do. So I don't want you to be apologetic about your screen usage, but I do want you to be a little bit transparent about it so that your child understands that you're not just being a hypocrite, that you're not just abusing your power as an adult who has unlimited screen time, but that you're doing things for your family or for your work or for your health that are important. And those things are not similar to just being entertained on your screen at the end of a long day's work. All right, so what's the key takeaway from this video? Well, before we get the confidence and the clarity and the consistency to establish clear screen time rules for our children, and in this series, yes, I'm going to take you through the baby and toddler years, early childhood, tweens, and teens. We're going to talk about what's appropriate, what we need to watch out for, what are the red flags, how we can do all of this. Before we can do any of that, it will be really useful and helpful to you to master your own relationship with your screen time a little better, to get off the apps that are draining your energy and attention, to establish a little bit more awareness of, am I just hooked on allowing them to watch more and more? Am I uncomfortable with the tantrums that ensue? Am I being bullied and pressured into buying things or paying for things or allowing things that aren't really aligned with my values? You're going to need to do a little bit of soul searching to understand what it is that you actually think and believe and what your own relationship with your device is. Get that down. Be clear on that. Start feeling comfortable in your role as authority, as a leader, as someone whose responsibility it is to set the tone for screen usage in your household. And the rest of it is going to flow so much smoother. Because if you're still iffy on yourself as a leader in your family, you won't actually be able to establish the rules, the follow through, the consistency with an unapologetic confidence that it demands. That's what parenting demands. It demands us being really clear on what we think, us being really comfortable with who we are about whatever topic it is, screens in this case, us having the confidence to share that, the clarity to communicate it, and then the consistency to follow through on it. So we're here in that first initial piece, gaining some clarity around our role in our children's screen addiction and becoming aware that maybe it's not them who's addicted, maybe it's us. Leave me your comment below. Is this something that you recognize in yourself? Is this a process you've already begun to go through? If so, I would love to hear all about it below. And please leave me your questions around screen time usage in kids so that I can make sure to incorporate them in the upcoming series. Meanwhile, keep living that high fam life, and I'll see you in the next one.